Have you ever wondered how narcissists end relationships? It's a question that's likely crossed your mind, especially if you've ever found yourself entangled with someone who seemed more in love with their own reflection than with you. The reality of these breakups can be far from the norm, often leaving a wake of confusion and hurt feelings. So what makes them so different? Well, it's not like your typical breakup. Let's dive into the world of narcissism and discover the methods they use. Before we delve into the methods, we need to understand what narcissism is. Narcissism at its core is an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. These individuals often have troubled relationships as they see themselves as superior and have little regard for other people's feelings. Narcissists are often charming and charismatic, but their allure quickly fades as their self-centeredness becomes apparent. In relationships, they tend to dominate conversations, belittle or look down on people they perceive as inferior, and insist on having the best of everything. Their lack of empathy means they're often dismissive or outright neglectful of their partner's needs. This can lead to a cycle of abuse where the narcissist manipulates their partner into thinking they're at fault. Now that we have a basic understanding of narcissism, we can explore how a narcissist ends a relationship. The first method narcissists often use is the sudden and unexplained disappearing act, commonly known as ghosting. You may be familiar with this term from the realm of dating, where one party suddenly cuts off all contact without explanation. However, in the context of narcissistic relationships, ghosting takes on a much more sinister tone. Ghosting is the practice of ending a personal relationship with someone by suddenly and without explanation withdrawing from all communication. It's as if they've become a ghost, present in your memories but absent from your life. But why do narcissists resort to this method? Well, it's a power play. Narcissists thrive on control and manipulation. By ghosting, they leave their partners in a state of confusion and distress, allowing the narcissist to maintain control and feed their own ego. Imagine being in a relationship where everything seems to be going well, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the person you've invested your time and emotions in just disappears. No calls, no messages, just radio silence. Let's look at a real-life case study. Consider Jane, who was in a relationship with John, a charismatic and charming individual. They were seemingly happy, but one day John just stopped responding to Jane's messages and calls. Jane was left in the dark, questioning what she did wrong and struggling with feelings of rejection and abandonment. Unbeknownst to Jane, John was a narcissist. He ghosted Jane not because she did something wrong, but because he wanted to exert control and boost his ego. The ghosting was a power play, a way for John to feel superior and in control. Ghosting can be a traumatic experience, especially when it's done by someone you care about. The sudden silence, the unanswered questions, the feelings of rejection, all these can take a toll on one's mental health. But remember, it's not about you, it's about them, the narcissist. Their need for control, their desire to manipulate, their ego, these are the driving forces behind their actions. Ghosting can be a traumatic experience, but it's just one of the 4 methods narcissists use. The second method is a more manipulative tactic called triangulation. Now, what is triangulation? It's a psychological strategy where the narcissist uses a third party to validate their superiority and manipulate their partner. Here's how it works. The narcissist introduces another person into the relationship dynamic. This person could be an ex-partner, a friend, or even a family member. The narcissist then uses this third party to provoke jealousy and insecurity in their partner. They might compare their partner unfavorably to this third person, creating a love triangle of sorts. This is done to control and dominate their partner, to keep them in a state of constant anxiety, and to make themselves appear more desirable. But why do narcissists use triangulation to end relationships? Well, it's a power play. They use it to assert control, to manipulate emotions, and to create a sense of confusion and doubt. Let's look at a real-life case study. Consider Jane and John. John, the narcissist, starts mentioning his close friend Mark, often in conversations. He praises Mark's achievements and subtly compares Jane to Mark, making her feel inadequate. Despite Jane's discomfort, John continues to bring Mark into their relationship, causing tension and conflict. Eventually, Jane feels so insecure and overwhelmed that she decides to end the relationship. John, having successfully manipulated the situation, walks away blameless. This is how triangulation works. It's a method of manipulation that narcissists use to end relationships without having to take on any responsibility. They create a toxic environment, provoke emotional turmoil, and then step back. as if they had no hand in the chaos. Triangulation is a cunning method narcissists use to end relationships. But there are still two more we need to discuss. The third method narcissists often use is devaluation. Now, this is a truly insidious tactic where the narcissist systematically breaks down the self-esteem of their partner. It's a method that's as cunning as it is cruel. So what exactly is devaluation? Well, it's a process where the narcissist starts to focus on their partner's flaws and weaknesses, magnifying them and constantly pointing them out. This leads the victim to start doubting their own worth and abilities. This can manifest in a variety of ways, such as constant criticism, belittling comments, and even outright emotional abuse. Why do narcissists use this method, you ask? It's all about control. By making their partner feel less valuable, less capable, the narcissist ensures their own dominance in the relationship. It's a power play, a way to keep the victim dependent on them for validation and approval. Let's look at a real-life case study to illustrate. Meet Alice, a successful lawyer, and her partner Mark, a classic narcissist. At first, Mark showered Alice with praise, making her feel special and loved, but as time went on, he started to chip away at her confidence. He'd belittle her achievements, make snide remarks about her appearance, and criticize her decisions. Alice began to feel worthless, doubting her abilities both professionally and personally. Mark had effectively devalued her, making her reliant on him for validation. But here's the kicker. Even as Alice's self-esteem plummeted, Mark would occasionally revert to his old, charming self, giving Alice just enough hope and validation to keep her hooked. This push-and-pull dynamic is a classic feature of devaluation, keeping the victim in a constant state of confusion and self-doubt. Devaluation is a powerful weapon in the narcissist's arsenal. It's a slow, gradual process, often so subtle that the victim doesn't realize what's happening until it's too late. But by understanding this tactic, we can better recognize and protect ourselves from it. Devaluation can be a painful experience and is another tactic in the narcissist's arsenal. Finally, the fourth method narcissists use to end relationships is the discard. This is the ultimate act of emotional cruelty that a narcissist can employ. It's when they decide that you no longer serve their needs and they cast you aside, often without warning or explanation. Now you might be wondering, what does discarding look like? Picture this. You're in a relationship with someone who one day suddenly becomes cold and distant. They start ignoring your calls and texts, and before you know it, they've vanished from your life completely. This is the discard. It's a method so ruthless, it leaves the person on the receiving end feeling abandoned and worthless. Narcissists use the discard method for two main reasons. First, it allows them to exert power and control. By cutting you off abruptly, they force you to question your worth and your place in their life. This keeps you in a state of confusion and desperation, which, in turn, fuels their ego. Second, discarding gives them an easy escape route. Narcissists are notoriously afraid of confrontation and taking responsibility for their actions. By discarding you, they avoid having to explain themselves or deal with the consequences of their behavior. Let's look at a real-life case study. Consider Jane, who was in a relationship with a narcissist named John. John showered Jane with love and attention at the start of their relationship. But as time passed, he became more and more controlling. One day, out of the blue, John ended the relationship without any explanation. Jane was left feeling devastated and confused. This is a classic example of the discard method. Discarding is the most damaging method narcissists use to end relationships. It leaves the discarded person feeling worthless and abandoned. It's a method that needs to be recognized and understood so that it can be dealt with effectively. Discarding is the final blow delivered by narcissists to end relationships. Recognizing these methods is the first step in handling a narcissistic breakup. It's crucial to identify the signs like sudden ghosting, emotional triangulation, devaluation, or a harsh discard. Once recognized, handling them involves maintaining your self-esteem, seeking support from trusted friends or professionals, and setting firm boundaries. Also, remember to prioritize your emotional well-being over their manipulation tactics. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding these methods can help you navigate through the stormy seas of a relationship with a narcissist.